Hello, guys. I'm your host for Innovation Station. My name's Isaiah Jimenez, and I'm here with my co-host,
Ethan Baker.
And today we'll be discussing the topic of...
Well, the current news that's going on. As you may know, recently one of Trump's political advisors was arrested. He was next on the indictment list for, well, what the mainstream media is saying as Russian collusion. Collusion itself is not a crime. I collude with Isaiah all the time. I collude with my friends because it's a conversation, really. But they're all under arrest, really, for lying to the FBI, which, as you may know, is a highly serious crime that I don't think anyone would want to be caught with.
The next thing I'm going to discuss is Trump reopening the government for 15 days, or no, not 15 days, 3 weeks, and he said he'd open it out without any funding for the wall. And I believe that if he gets what he wants right now, I mean, I'm all for the wall as long as it's effective and it's not a waste of money. But if he gets what he wants, he's going to realize that, if he just wants to get something, he'll just shut down the government until they give it to him.
Well, and that could be a major issue. But the thing is, you have to think about it. In the end, what would happen was, number one, he'd lose any chance of a re-election, which he may not be interested in the first place. But he would be universally disliked through not out only the Senate, but you have to think about all the government employees who are not getting paid. They will not have it either. And I'm sure if something like this were to happen, there'd be a strike.
TSA, just giving you a real quick, TSA's not happy with this because they're trying to hire people and they're trying to get people to work for no pay, which doing airport security cannot be fun. I bet there's nothing fun about that. I mean, you get to sit in there and, feel on people for anything that's suspicious. That's not to be taken weird, by the way. For X amount of hours a day. And I especially feel bad for the people on night shift, because that's gotta suck even more, because then you're tired, and you're also doing that for your shift time. And, one thing that I've noticed with this government shutdown, a lot of people seem to be commenting on it to me, like at school or on Snapchat or just anything like social media wise. And yet, whenever I ask them their standpoint on it and why they believe that, they don't give me any real evidence, or they haven't done much research at all about it.
And that happens a lot too, especially at our age. People just listen to their parents ranting in the car, and they pass that on as fact, or they develop their own kind of story to fill in the blanks. Sometimes that's not the most correct thing ever. With the Roger Stone being arrested, one of Trump's longtime political advisors, you may notice him from having a Richard Nixon tattoo on his back, which is, on its own, very odd. Now, see, the only people who got a juicy bite of this, I believe, was CNN, because he happened... the Rolling Stone. Well, a lot of people have reported on it, but the thing is, with Roger Stone, I think there was only one clip that was recorded. That was from CNN, and so there's a claim about it being leaked. Not true. It was actually that they were, I believe that they were at the White House, and they noticed some extra filing for an indictment, and they knew it was coming soon, so they staked out Roger Stone's house. It was a surprise attack. Instead of calling Roger Stone's lawyer and telling him that they were going to be there to arrest him, they just showed up, which they probably thought he was going to destroy documents or evidence, etc., because they also raided his apartment, I believe, in Manhattan.
Another thing, kind of a diversion from what you've been hearing just a second ago, another thing with Russia, this has really nothing to do with the person previously mentioned, but they had a plane crash recently, I'm pretty sure, and it killed all 3 people inside. It was some, like, I think it was nuclear capable. It was a nuclear capable jet crashed in them somewhere, and it killed everyone inside. And Russia believes that the U.S. tried, like, doing something. They were aiming at it, shooting at it. They believe that that's why it went down, because Russians believe that, well, their stuff's perfect. Yeah. But besides the point, yeah, I feel like what the FBI did whenever they raided his apartment in Manhattan, that was kind of uncalled for. They could have done it a little bit more civilized, I believe. There's an easier way to go about that, but they chose to do it that way.
Well, and I was watching the CNN clip earlier today, and the reporter, I forgot his name, forgive me, he had said that this was standard procedure for the FBI. It didn't seem so. I don't think that would usually be standard procedure. I understand a surprise attack because evidence could be destroyed. I don't think there's too much evidence on it, but there could be, and I'm not necessarily saying that Roger Stone shouldn't be arrested. If he's lying to the FBI, he should. But some people are just asked some questions that they would rather not answer for personal reasons. And when that happens, they lie to the FBI, and all lies come out. And so eventually, they learn the truth, and you're next on the indictment list.
I would say something about the Fifth Amendment, but I don't think that's going to help him in this situation.
So as far as the plane, 2 Russian nuclear-capable strategic bombers arrived in Venezuela on Monday, a deployment that comes amid soaring Russia-U.S. tensions. So basically, it was a pair of Tu-160 bombers that landed somewhere in Venezuela, following a 6,200-mile flight. It didn't say whether the bombers were carrying any weapons, and it did say how long they would stay in Venezuela. The ministry said the bombers were, shadowed by Norwegian F-18 jets during part of their flight.
Is there anything about how it crashed? Now, I might be wrong, but I believe it did. One of the planes crashed. But I could be wrong. You know, everything that I see on here could be fake. Yeah, there's a lot of facts that are on.
Where did you get it from?
I saw it on, I think it was Twitter.
Twitter?
Yes. Well, you know how Twitter is.
Twitter. So. Twitter is not a place you go to have ever an intellectual conversation. It's a place where you go to say dumb crap and, like, just troll people, really. I'm not saying I go on Twitter and troll people individually. But no one, like, goes to have no one's like, oh, yeah, you think you're right? Then let's have a Twitter debate. That's a sentence that has never been said, in all honesty, and for fair reason.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate what Ethan said about the standard procedure for the FBI. Back when a bunch of high-ranked, quote-unquote, Democratic politicians received bombs in their mail, they didn't do that to the person that sent that. They took a little bit more, I wouldn't say careless approach, more of a, a cautious, not just kind of in-your-face type approach to that one.
Well, and I think it's because the FBI knew that Roger Stone, I wouldn't say he's going to come out with, armed troops and be like an Iraqi citadel. I think they knew that he was going to be civil about it. He'd accept the indictment, because he had said himself that he was next on the indictment list, I believe. I may be misquoting him, but he said something in that area. And so he may have known that he was going to be arrested, so he may have already destroyed documents. But as of now, I don't know too much except for the fact that he was arrested for lying to the FBI, not for Russian collusion.
In other news, polar bear finds friend. What else should we do?
Oh, okay. So as far as the government shutdown goes, it's been reopened for, I think, No, wasn't it permanently reopened recently?
It's still temporary.
Okay. So, as of now, the government will be open for 3 weeks to talk about it. Donald Trump himself says that he's going to go without funding for the border wall for now, which I think isn't necessarily a good thing because I understand the concept of the wall, but I think before anything else, government employees need to be reinstated. They need to be reimbursed with their money. Because, quite frankly, it's not fair to them. Because they are doing work, too. And they're doing hard work as well. They're doing manual labor all the time. And so I don't think it's fair at all to hold them off. So, as far as border wall funding goes, none of it has showed up yet. And considering it's 2019, almost the end of Trump's first term, we may not see the wall unless he gets reelected.
On Saturday morning, the president took to Twitter saying that 21 days goes very quickly, and once again vowing that the promised wall will be constructed. Another quote from Twitter I see is, "Will not be easy to make a deal. Both parties are very dug in," he wrote. "The case for national security has been greatly enhanced by what has been happening at the border and through dialogue. We will build a wall," with an exclamation point. So I believe that however long it takes him to do this, he's going to do it, but I think it'll be better in the long run. But we'll just have to see because, we can't tell the future, so we're just going to have to wait for him to do it.
I would agree with that, for sure. And when it comes to people not caving, and I guess you could consider Trump's reopening for 3 weeks a cave, I wouldn't do it as much as a cave. I think he's just trying to compromise, which I know the Democrats won't cave. Because as Isaiah stated earlier, people think he's going to use it to get whatever he wants because he's going to realize he got such a big project done as the wall. The wall is a huge project. And he's going to realize that if I can shut down the government long enough, I can get whatever I want really and promote my own political agenda. And I can get myself in office for another term if he uses it like a 9-year-old would use a gun.
Like a bait and switch type thing where it's like, if you give me this, I'll open it, and then he's just going to switch and do it again.
Yeah, and so, but eventually it's going to be the boy who cried wolf, and I don't think the Senate will stand for it for too long if it happens again. And already, there's been just a lot of unsettlement in how long this government shutdown has been. And I think it could even knock the faith in Trump out of even his supporters. And in the long run, it could mean, probably not, but time will tell.
I don't know. If Trump does keep up with his antics, I feel like the Senate and the House is already fed up with him. If the Senate gets fed up with him, he could be possibly one of our first impeachments.
I don't know if he's going to be impeached. I don't think it could happen. If he does shut down the government often enough, I think he could be impeached. I don't think he'll do it that much. He may shut down the government again like he did for the wall, and I think that would definitely be a little bit shady of him, but after all, he's not the least shady of presidents.
Yeah, I feel as if he's trying his best right now as a toddler to be a political leader, because he kind of thinks like a toddler sometimes, if you get what I'm saying. The way he tries to get stuff on his own. And don't get me wrong, Trump has made, I believe, more, now, take my words with a grain of salt, but I feel like he's made more progress with the North Korea situation than any other president has. Because we waged war on them in 1950, I believe, somewhere in there.
Yes.
And technically, no one signed a peace treaty yet, so we're technically still at war with North Korea. But, like, the border between North and South Korea has calmed down tremendously. And I feel like if he has more of these summits and meetings with, prestigious leaders of other countries, he could eventually defuse the ticking bomb that is North Korea.
Yes, it's been just a very long ceasefire. Yeah, I think he is actually, as far as prepared to shut down the government again in 3 weeks. Yeah, I think he is actually, acting White House Chief of Staff Mike Mulvaney says. He doesn't want to shut down the government. Let's make that very clear. He doesn't want to declare a national emergency. But Mulvaney said that at the end of the day, the president's commitment to defend its nation, and he will do with or without Congress.
I believe that. I was gonna say, I just had it. It was good. Something about that.
Well, and some people are considering this government shutdown as a negotiating method, which I personally do not think it's a legit one or that much of a moral one. It's just, I don't think it's that fair, especially the employees. It could definitely, like I said earlier, cause a strike, an uprising, and it would not be good. And when I say uprising, I don't mean
overthrow the government.
I don't mean overthrowing the government. I don't mean the purge.
Right.
But I'm saying there could be a kind of a rise of power and a rite of passage for government employees, such as the Postal Service or TVA.
In other news, Massachusetts government, or not government. I saw an article and a YouTube video on this a few days ago, but it was a ban on assault weapons and assault attachments to weapons, and there was a peaceful protest by law-abiding gun owners in the city. They were open carrying loaded firearms, and they were respectful about anyone who opposed their views. See, what they did is they rallied in the city, and then they had people come up and talk, and it was a peaceful protest, and they were open carrying loaded, cocked firearms, and I think it's kind of ironic how, women's protests and stuff, some of that turns violent, and whenever there is a mass concentration of loaded, semi-automatic firearms in one place, there's nobody there, that's getting hurt. There's nobody shooting each other. Nobody is fighting each other. There was a woman there that opposed guns, and they were very respectful to her, and she was respectful to them, so they were able to, share their opinions, and they were able to share their viewpoints, and they were able to discuss, why they thought this and why they thought that. And I think that's a better approach on gun control or just guns in general than, you're stupid, no you, and it's just back and forth, just mudslinging, and I feel like that's what's been going on for too long. I feel like we need to make a change, and the change is not taking away all guns, because people get guns illegally just how people get drugs illegally. I know you can't grow guns in your basement, but you can get them from third world countries, you can ship them in. People do it all the time. There's unregistered firearms being sold all the time. There is ATF illegal, they don't have tax stamps for, a less than 16-inch barrel on a rifle or 18 inches on a shotgun. And there's just a lot of illegal things, so at this point you can't take away all the guns, because that would take nice people and law-abiding citizens right away to protect themselves from the people who aren't going to care about, the law and what the law says. I saw this meme video, and it was very funny, but it actually conveys a good message. It was set in California, and it was when someone tries to rob your house in California. It's a hilarious video. I do recommend you go watch it, and Three robbers break into a man's house. The man is not protected because he doesn't have a firearm. And they break in with these semi-automatics and stuff like that hold more than 10 rounds, so it's illegal in California, which I think is kind of crap anyways. But they come in and they're like, give me your money, and they're trying to like take his stuff, and he's like, whoa, wait. How many bullets are in that magazine? And they're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. We're breaking the law. I apologize. Okay.
Breaks into someone's house. It's like, but I have more than 10 bullets in this round. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll leave you alone. I'll endorse you. Just give me your PIN, and then I'll definitely endorse your bank account. Won't take anything.
There's 11 rounds. He takes one out. Okay, wait. You can't have up stocks. Oh, I'm so sorry. And eventually, there's so many regulations. They are shooting muskets at each other, and they're like, okay, this is finally right. And that's just, do you think that a criminal is gonna care what some guy, because he won an election, says, you can't have this many rounds in a magazine, or you can't have this attachment, because it makes the gun any better? There is one example that I've also seen of this. Back to what I was saying, I need to use correct grammar.
Me too.
Do you think if someone's robbing your house, they're going to care about law? Because they're robbing your house. That's theft. That's illegal. Do you think they're going to care? And so I think if you take guns away, that's going to impede on good people's ability to protect their life, their liberty, and their pursuit of happiness, which is literally what this country was founded and based on. And if you take that away, it's unconstitutional, and it will not happen. There was a YouTube channel, big YouTube gun channel, called Iraq Veteran 8888. He made a video on this ban in Massachusetts or somewhere like that, Boston, and it was trying to do what California did, essentially. It was 10 rounds or more. You have to modify them, send them to a gunsmith, or you have to turn them into the state, or you don't do it and you get handed into the police. They gave them 90 days to turn in their magazines, and not a single one was turned in. That brings a new meaning to the flag that says "Come and Take It" with a cannon on it. I feel like that is such a good representation of this. If you try to take guns away from law-abiding citizens and people that are not law-abiding citizens, at least,
it's not going to end up good. And now, we're not going off on a tangent talking about guns because it's relevant to current news. Speaking of violence, I believe I am correct if there was 2 bombs that were set off earlier today, killing, I don't remember the death count. I think it was around 150 that were injured. Let's see. At least 20 dead as 2 bombs target Roman Catholic cathedrals in the Philippines, which may be a hate crime. And that bombing may have been a hate crime from secularists, which I'm not suggesting. That's probably one of the least likely things because they're humanitarians. But I believe it was an attack from Islamic extremists. Which is most likely, and we are seeing more and more of these types of things that are happening, and it's honestly disgusting.
And that's going to wrap it up for today. I will see you next time on Wednesday.
Alright, bye guys. This has been Ethan and Isaiah with Innovation Station, and remember,
like, comment, subscribe, share with your grandma. Share with anyone that you want to.
Do share with your grandma. You might not want to share with your grandpa, because mine was ranting earlier about how I talk too fast. So you may want to avoid sharing this with your grandpa. But everyone else, share it too. If you have someone that has an IQ above 5, which is not many people I know, just share it with them so they can enjoy the content.
Another thing is,